welcome back to my channel. This next project is the fulfillment of a dress that I've wanted to make for myself for a very long time. Pretty excited about it. It's going to be in several different parts because I got a lot of footage and it would be too long all in one video. But it is a medieval-ish style, not historically accurate, but historically inspired off of that time frame. Throwing in a little bit of fantasy in with that, a little bit of Lord of the Rings inspiration in there. I had so much fun with it, and it's gorgeous. And yes, it's already done, but I'm going to be splitting these videos up into several videos for several different parts because it was a lot. Took a long time to do. Part of what was so fun about it is I decided to incorporate my beautiful antique sewing machine into it, and I used that machine for most of this project. There were a few parts that I went and used my newer machine for, but I wanted to see how the Treadle machine would work for constructing something. I finally got it working, and refurbished is the word I'm looking for, last year, and it's been a lot of fun to incorporate that into this and to use it. So without anything further, let's jump right on into it.
So like I said, this is a dress that I've wanted to do for a really long time. I do not remember what kind of fabric this red fabric is. I know it isn't anything natural. I got it when a fabric store around us was going out of business, and I knew I wanted to make one, but I hadn't really done any research or anything, and I snatched this fabric. I still love it. It is still really comfortable. It is just also very heavy. So as you can see, just cutting, and this was a lot of cutting because there were a lot of long pieces. I think this is the second time I've made a dress where the bodice and skirt are all one long panel. So it was pretty long. The first one I did with that was my wedding dress. So it took a little while to cut it and get it all settled. So one of the reasons that it's been so long since I bought the fabric, I think I bought the fabric probably 5 years ago, 5, maybe 6. And it's just been sitting there with plans to do this. I did mention that in my intro video that one of the reasons that I haven't done any videos really before now, there is a level of fear. And one of those, I guess the best way to say it is, one of the things that I've let stop me is my weight. I might mention it more, I might not, but I just had this, I need to lose all the baby weight before I can make myself a really pretty dress. So I've been hanging on to the fabric for all this time, just hoping and hoping and hoping, and then there was a surprise pregnancy thrown into that mix. Well, a pregnancy and then a surprise pregnancy, and you know, things don't go how you want, and weight isn't as easy to lose as you want, and I'm tired of waiting, and so I figure I'm just gonna make myself one. So here I'm just trying it on the best I can with pinning it and slipping it over my head with all of those pins in it. It was painful, and I ended up having to adjust it, but I wanted to throw that into this video. So here began the process of me sewing with my Treadle machine. And a couple of thoughts on that. It was a lot of fun to use. It took a lot of getting used to in the stopping and starting of it. Once I got the wheel going, it usually went pretty well. Another thing is the the top wood board that screws on and folds out and then down back over the table when you store the machine. Because I don't want to store the machine right now, I unscrewed that board because it was just hanging off. I probably should have screwed it back on for this process, because having that extra board sticking out to the left would have been really helpful in holding the dress and its volumes while sewing without it falling off the side of the table. With my newer machines, I haven't had to worry about there being this little table where it just kind of falls off. So I probably will do that next time I use the machine for any large product. But these were really long seams and there were a lot of them, so like the cutting, it just kept on going. Because the fabric was kind of slippery, I did have to have those pins in there, which did add a level of challenge in doing it with the treadle, because it, like I said, stopping and starting it was not as easy, and so I had to try to keep removing the pins while it was going with one hand. And anyway, it was fine. It just took some getting used to. And then I wanted to get a close-up. It was really neat to use this. Like I said, I refurbished it last year, and I was so excited when I finally found someone getting rid of one in a price range that I could afford. And she was selling it for really cheap, probably because it wasn't working and she didn't think it could work. And she thought I wanted it just for a decoration piece. And I said, no, I'm going to get it running. And she kind of looked at me funny, and I'm pretty sure she didn't believe me that I was going to get it running. But I did. It took a lot of elbow grease and a lot of work, and a lot of research, and I learned so much about these machines in that process of getting it working again. But this particular one, she said that it had been her late husband's great-grandmother's machine. So it is almost a 100-year-old machine from I think it's the serial number is what they call it on the front of the machine. We looked it up, and so that's pretty cool to me. You can see the wear on the decals, but I think that adds a level of charm because it was an actual used machine. So I'm jumping to the lining here. This was not anything that was in the pattern. This is just something that I wanted to do. I did not want that red fabric right up against my skin in the bodice area. So I'm using just a cotton muslin for this, and I used the pattern pieces for the actual dress and just cut off the skirt portion so that I didn't want the whole thing lined. I just wanted the bodice lined. So that's how I got the pattern for it, and then I pinned it all together, obviously, and off camera I sewed all the seams together and then did a felled seam on all of them, where I trimmed down one of the raw edges in the seam and then sewed down the other. And the reason I did it that way was because I turned them into boning channels, which I'm showing here, and I had some steel bones that I retrieved from another garment that I cannibalized a while back, and they weren't for any type of like corset boning reasons. I was just wanting to provide the top with a little bit more structure, and I think it really worked. I was really pleased with it. So I didn't do anything fancy for the bottom of the hem, just serged it as you see, pinned it all down, and then stitched it down, and then I'm going to show me ironing, and I believe in a minute. and then I put the wrong side of it up against the wrong side of the dress and just tacked it in along the seams on the bottom. And I will show in a minute how I did it under the collar facing, which you'll see a glimpse of the collar in this video, but I am not showing the collar in this video. That's going to be a different one. But I'm really pleased at how the lining worked in this. I really feel that my goal, providing a little bit more stability and a little bit more breathability for myself, really worked. So there it is. I did the back edge with the dress when I put the zipper in, which I'll show another time. And there you got a glimpse of a little sneak peek of the collar. I think I'll show what I did in the arm's eye in another video too. But see, I just pinned it up under there, and then I hand width stitched that facing down, which I do not think I showed on camera, to hold that in place. And that is the lining.
Alright, I'm back. I am so glad that you came along for this. I don't know exactly how many videos I will be making for this series. I know there will be one for the sleeves, one for the collar, one for the trim and all the ancillaries, zipper and prop stuff. I can't talk today. And I don't know whether that one will include the footage for the jewel belt that I made to go with it, or I'll make its own video for the belt. It really depends on how much footage I've got. I'm not sure. I've got to go back and watch it. I did make these a while ago. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I would be happy to answer any questions. I do not remember off the top of my head which pattern I used for this. I've got to go find it, but I will leave a note in the description of which pattern I used. I did change some things, but I did my base off of the pattern. So feel free to like and subscribe if you care to join me for the journey. I'd love to have you here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.